I remember my first time stepping into this school in 7th grade as we all began a new year as a member of the guinea pig class. Little did we know how much love would be poured out for us by our teachers and classmates who had become like family. It's for this love that our senior class would like to thank all of our teachers who have committed their time and effort to not only give us an amazing education, but also an atmosphere of joy, care, and grace. We will be forever grateful for the sacrifices you have made for our lives. We would also like to thank our classmates. It has always been my opinion that we all have a very special bond with one another, a dynamic that can never be replicated. Through the years, we have shared so many experiences, meaningful conversations, and so much laughter. We have all fought like siblings and laughed like children and learned countless lessons from one another. But most importantly, we have all shared in the love of Christ. It has been so wonderful to grow up with this group of people and to see how the Lord is moving in everyone's lives. We'd also like to thank our parents and families who have supported and guided us up to this very moment. Without your sacrifices, we would not be the people that we are today. Finally, we would like to thank our entire school faculty, volunteers, and supporters. We are incredibly thankful for how you have served us over the years. During the course of our time here at CLC, we have formed relationships and memories that will last a lifetime. Roger has amused us with countless accents and has enriched our vocabularies with prodigious terms and expressions. Judah has taught us all about the proper way to fry chicken and has blessed us with the sound of his falsetto voice singing along to our daily Spanish hymns. Lee has challenged us all with his thought-provoking opinions and continuously made us all laugh. And Sarah has blessed us all with her sweet smile and heart and has never turned down an opportunity to have some fun. I will never forget the intense games of knockout we all used to play, or the debates we spent so much time preparing for. I think back fondly of the conversations Mrs. Harding sparked for us in omnibus class, and of all the topics Mr. Lund helped us to deepen and explore. I will miss our classes' after-school trips to Rib Crib and our study halls not so wisely spent playing Wordle. I'm so proud to have been a part of this amazing group of people at CLC, and I'm so thankful for how they've all shaped me. St. Augustine once wrote, "My greatest comfort and relief is in the consolation of friends. Friendship has joys that captivate my heart, the charms of talking and laughing together, and kindly giving way to each other's wishes, reading elegantly written books together, sharing jokes and delighting to honor one another. If we disagree with each other occasionally, it is without malice. We teach and learn from each other, sadly missing any who are absent, and gladly welcoming them when they come home. Such signs of friendship spring from the hearts of friends who love and know they are loved in return. Signs to be read in smiles, words, glances, and 1,000 gracious gestures. These are sparks that kindle a blaze to melt our hearts and fuse them inseparably into one." It is this eloquently written description that paints a picture of what our years of CLC have looked like. And from this quote, this is the encouragement I want everyone to hear, whether student, parent, teacher, or friend. Mr. Gertz is pretty famous for his best friend talk that he shares with us every year. But only as I have grown up have I realized how right he is. No matter how different someone is from you, how much you might disagree or have different interests, it is such a blessing to be good friends with everyone around you. To have relationships that have survived the petty fights, or the stressful debate weeks, or even the minor differences that at times would divide us. To know that even though you may have a differing sense of humor or enjoy spending your time in contrasting ways, that you can relate with each other on one defining characteristic, that we are all God's children, and we were all put here to love one another. So that is my simple encouragement to all of you, to love and appreciate the people in your life, and to find unity despite your differences. Never having best friends, as Mr. Gertz has frequently advised, but considering everyone around you as good friends. I know that this lesson that I have been taught will shape the way I live for the rest of my life, and I hope it will for all of you too. With these thoughts in mind, this graduating class would like to thank you all once more for your abundant love and support. As we all continue our lives, heading in different directions and stepping into new opportunities, we will look back on these years with gratefulness, laughter, and joy. I'm so excited to see how the Lord will work in this new chapter of our lives. With much gratitude, our senior class bids you all farewell as we look back on the blissful memories of the past and step forward into the Lord's plan for our futures. Thank you.
I'd first like to thank all the staff and all the teachers that helped further my education here and be a good example of Jesus in my life. I'd like to especially thank Mrs. Harding for dealing with all my shenanigans for the past 6 years. And I wanted to thank Mrs. Richens as well, especially for putting a smile on all of our seniors' faces every day and making us laugh. I wanted to thank also Mr. Lund, for supporting some of my shenanigans. And for just being the coolest teacher of all time, really. I do want to thank my parents as well for sending me here, even though I was opposed at first, it turned out to be pretty all right. And lastly, I do want to thank all my classmates. School is a lot more enjoyable when all your peers are your closest friends. So, and I especially want to thank my treacherous little twin in the front row for pushing me to do my best in all that I do. Couldn't have done it without you, so thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to thank my parents. At first, I was opposed to coming to CLC, but I am very grateful that I was able to come to this school. Secondly, I would like to thank all my teachers for pouring into me every day. I would mostly like to thank Mrs. Harding for mentoring me throughout the last 2 years of my thesis and just being a light to me and a godly woman that I greatly look up to. I'd like to thank Mr. Gertz for being a role model to everyone in our school and a godly man I'm sure we all look up to. And lastly, I'd like to thank my sisters for being a role model to me, academically, spiritually, and just as being a person. And I'd like to thank Chloe for being not only my little sister, but my best friend and my biggest supporter.
I'm not going to say too much because my classmates have never seen me cry before. Of course, I want to thank all my teachers, all of them individually. I know them as very godly. I've never had a teacher where I haven't looked up to them in some way in my faith in particular. And of course, they've taught me a lot of amazing things in every subject. And so I just want to thank all of you for being a very big and important part of my life, and I'll never forget what you've done for me and what you've taught me, so thank you. And last, I want to thank my parents. And this will be the first and last time I admit that my parents letting me graduate from here was the right decision in every way. I'm so thankful.
Teachers and mentors who helped me through all of the tribulations and what I can only describe as syllabus shock of attending CLC. I would also like to thank my classmates, my peers. When I first moved to Clear Lake, I was leaving the only place I ever remembered and the only friends I ever knew. To say I was pessimistic about the future would be an understatement, but I was so pleasantly surprised to find such a genuine and true group of peers, nay, friends. And I would, above all, like to thank God for using all the wonderful people in my life to put me through what I can only describe as a crucible of virtue to make me try and live up to His word. So, to all of those people, thank you.
Well, we started today thinking about a question about history and legacy. We asked, is this graduation day really historical? Our world is always trying to convince us that we need to live for this world. That we need to leave a legacy behind so we can be remembered. It makes sense. That's all the world has. To be remembered long after you're dead, that's the best we can hope for. But in Christ, we have a much more achievable and much more important hope. To view our time here on earth not as an opportunity to build temporary and earthly legacy, but to build an eternal one. That's what we're called to. And of all the students in all the types of schools in the world, I hope CLC students will understand this as well or better than any students, the fleeting nature of earthly legacy. The most famous and important people in the history of the known world are largely overlooked and forgotten. In fact, it's likely only because your parents were crazy enough to put you into this school that you know names like Augustine and Cicero and Diogenes. Even so, does Cicero gain anything by you having studied him? He's long gone. Doesn't do him any good. We remember his name. Anybody know his face? The most important people in the history of the world are either completely forgotten or mostly forgotten. Well, 10 years ago, as the seed of CLC was just being planted, there was no thought, I promise you, there was no thought of building any kind of earthly legacy. We weren't then, we're not now, interested in being remembered. I'm not sure of much, but I'm sure I won't be remembered in 100 years. And I'm good with that. But 10 years ago, there was a serious desire, as there is today, to use well the one life that we have, to build a heavenly legacy, seek God's direction for what He would have us do in the time that we have, in the place that's been given to us. And so, Lord willing, you have about 70 years. Okay? And by then, your God will have brought you back, or you'll be about to see Him. So my final exhortation to the 5 of you, and really to all of us here, my final exhortation is this: you will be forgotten. Does that make you feel good? You will be forgotten by those here on earth. But you will not be forgotten. You will not be forgotten by the one who loved you enough to voluntarily enter this exile and bring you home. And so for His sake, I know it's a trope with us, but I'm going to say it anyway. For His sake, reject the yoke. For His sake, love the lovely. Shape the culture that you go to, the culture you're confronted with, by seeking the welfare of your city. Do what you can with what you have in the time you get, in the place you are. And as you do, call upon the Lord, pray to Him. He will hear you. Seek Him with your whole heart, and you will find Him. And you will discover again and again that the plans He has for you are good, and therefore you're welcome to give you a future.